Welcome back to Rifleman 2.0, and today I have a pretty good one for you. None other than the Colt Single Action Frontier Scout in 22 long rifle. Check it out with me. So we are back on the range again with another bona fide Colt. The Colt Single Action Frontier Scout in 22 long rifle was manufactured between 1957 and 1977, so it had a good 20-year run. I ran the serial number on mine, so it was manufactured somewhere around 1959 to 1960, somewhere in between, and it is in very, very good condition. These are not cheap guns, but it is a cheap shooter, as it is a 22 long rifle. And I think that's what the intended purpose was, so you could have the original Colt Single Action feel in a pint-sized package. And back in the 50s, it was probably a relatively inexpensive gun, but not in these days, not in 2022. So yeah, upwards of $1,000, believe it or not. But as you guys can see, for the demo right now, she is not loaded. So I can show you some of the features of it. And it is, in fact, modeled after the original Colt Single Action Army, which was originally in 4440, then they bumped up to 45 Colt, and then obviously when the other models came out, such as the Frontier Scout, you know, they were changing up the calibers and stuff, either to make it more affordable, or if other people just wanted different choosings in caliber, and that's fine. But this one in particular is very well built. It's a good shooter, really good shooter. You really got that Colt feel, like you know there's quality there. And this is before it started getting really chintzy. You guys know what I'm talking about. The new Pythons that came out a couple years ago, trash. But now the CZ's running the show, we'll see how it goes. Quality's right there, so we're hoping for the best. But anyway, this was when Colt was still manufactured here in the United States, and it is very, very close to the original, as you can see. Now, the only difference that you're gonna find on this, beside the caliber of course, is going to be the hammer right there. It does not have a hammer mounted firing pin like the originals did, or a hammer tooth as I sometimes call it, but as you can see in there, it's got direct impact on the firing pin itself. It does not have a transfer bar like some of the new models that you're going to come across today. And no, it's not like a Heritage. It does not have a side safety on there. I think that's just unique to them, and thank goodness. I mean, I love Heritage, but this is a Colt. Yeah, they're not going to have that. Now, just like the original Single Action Army, the Frontier Scout does feature fixed groove type sights and a fixed front sight on there. So you should be able to hit just fine, but if it does start going left and right, you're kind of SOL. Then you'll have to learn a little bit of Kentucky windage. But just like the originals, that's just how it is. It's super holster friendly because you don't have anything you're going to get caught up on as you normally would with adjustable sights. However, it does limit your visibility on this thing because those sights can be very small, and if you got older eyes, it might be a little bit more difficult. On top of it, you can't adjust them, so you know, you gotta kind of work with what you got. But other than that, they're very functional, and if you know how to use these sights properly, you should have no problem hitting what you're aiming at. Now, true to form as the original Colt Single Action Army, it is obviously single action, and it does not have a swing out cylinder, so you're gonna have to put it on the half cock just like that, open up the loading gate, rotate the cylinder to an empty chamber, load your round in, you guys can see, move it to the next chamber, load the next round, so on and so forth until you reach 6. So it is good practice when you're dealing with a direct impact firing pin, if it was hammer mounted or if it's settled into the frame like this one is, to load it with 5 and let it rest on the empty 6th chamber. But here on the range, it's okay. I'm not carrying this thing around, so I'm not worried about it. But there is potential that you could drop it and the hammer will push into the firing pin and set off a round and cause a negligent discharge. I'm not worried about that today, but keep that in mind. Load 5, keep it on the empty 6th one if you're going to carry this thing in the woods or something. So today for ammunition, we're going to be using CCI standard velocity 1070 feet per second. These work out perfectly in this revolver, so you guys are going to see how well we do on the range today. So what we're going to be doing today is we are going to be shooting from the offhand at 5, 10, and 15 yards with 6-round groups into the target down there, and then I'm going to switch it up. I'm going to be shooting it off the bench rest. Obviously there's human error when it comes down to offhand shooting, but when you put it on the bench, it does eliminate a lot of that error. So we're going to see the practical shooting application and the real potential of this gun. So here we go at 5 yards with 6 shots. We're going to be going into the top right target. That's 6. And there you go for 6 relatively fast shots at 5 yards. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and the 6th one is in there. It went a little bit high. Aim point was right here, and they went a little bit high. And probably my shaky hands, which opened them up like that. But that's what we're looking at. Now, like all single actions, when you go to reload, it is the exact opposite of when you load it. So put it on the half cock like I just did, open up that loading gate, and then you're going to rotate the cylinder over, and then reach up here to the cartridge punch, kick the shell out, move to the next one, kick the shell out, and so on and so forth until you kick out all 6, and then load it back up with your 6, or if you're carrying it, 5. Now, I absolutely love old style Colt production. This thing is all steel. The only thing that's plastic on this is the grip, which I don't much care for it, but it is an original grip, so I'm not going to be changing it anytime soon. But other than that, you're not dealing with any of the composite metals or anything like that. You got solid steel on this puppy. Alright, so let's get it at 10 yards. Alright, here we are at 10 yards, and it's going to be the top left target we're going to be going for. And there's 6. Let's see how we did. And there we are at 10 yards. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. They do tend a little bit high, but again, that might be shooter error. But for 6 relatively fast shots in the offhand, that's how we're doing. All right, we made it up to the 15 now. I'm gonna be aiming center on the target just so we can keep a better look at this thing and how well we're doing. So far, the accuracy is not overly impressive in the offhand. A lot of that's probably me today. It happens to all of us. But we're going to see the true potential in this thing when we put it on the sled. And then that'll tell the real story. But anyway, here we are at 15 yards in the offhand. And there's 6, aimed center. Let's check it out. That's just bizarre to me that they climb like that. So 1, 2, 3, 4, there's 5, and there's 6 right there. There are a couple little shot holes in here, but you could tell the difference between the 22s and the shot holes. So still tending high. I'm wondering what it's going to look like off the sled. Well, to be frank about it, the accuracy is kind of lackluster, actually. I'm betting shooter error is playing a big part in that. If that's the case, whew, I need to hit the range a little bit more. But here we are back at 5 yards, and we're going to be going for the top right target, and we're going to be doing it off the sled here so we can see the full potential of the gun itself with minimized human error in it. So we will see how this plays out. Alrighty, here we go. Yeah, that tells the story right there. Well, if that don't tell you a story, I don't know what will. 1, 2, and all the rest of them in that ragged hole right there. A little bit high and just a tad to the right. But, yep, in the offhand, my shaky hands took that thing all over the place. So, yeah, the sled tells the story. You know, you really hate to admit when it's you and not the gun. But in this case, it's a very good thing because I can improve my skills and my posturing and drink less caffeine. But when it comes down to the gun being the problem, which is somewhat rare when it comes down to shooter inaccuracy, then you're kind of screwed. So we're at the 10. Let's get it loaded up and we'll see how we do in that top left target. Alrighty, here we go. There's 6. Let's see how we did. Kind of not what I expected. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's what we're looking at 10. So for 15, we're just going to go central on the target. Okay, so how are we looking? 5 yards, tack driver, 10 yards. Looks okay. Either way, the sled is doing pretty good. It's doing its job. So here at the 15, we're going to be aiming central on that target, and we're going to see how well we do out of the sled here. So far it's looking like a decent handgun for a .22 revolver with fixed sights. That's 60 years old. I don't have any complaints. So let's see how we do at the 15 here. So there we go with 6 rounds. So let's take a second. What do you guys think? You think it's going to be shotgun pattern down there, or are we looking at something pretty tight? Take a second, put it down in the comments, let me know what you think. Let's go check it out. Well, here we are at 15. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and it looks like a double hit in that one. Super high. Yeah, it went way higher, so it's definitely more point of aim the closer you get, which is kind of funny to me, which I'm not really understanding why it's going so high, but this is what we're looking at. So probably looking at maybe 4.5 inch, yeah, probably about 4.5 inch spread there at 15 yards. So all right, that'll work. So what are we thinking, guys? How well this thing's performing? My opinion at this point, I'm saying it's probably about average, about your average shooting .22 revolver. Is that bad? Yeah, not really. We're not expecting like super precision or anything like that. It'll definitely hit the target. It'll hit where you're aiming at. Now it's not going to be super sub MOA, you know, out of this 4.5 inch barrel, but it's doing just fine as far as a .22 goes. So let's stand up some targets down there, and they're going to be smaller targets. I'm going to put the swingers down there, I'm going to put the gopher up down there, and we'll have a little bit of fun, and we'll see just how well we do practically with the gun. Not shooting at a big paper target, but small real world targets. And I'm wondering if there's going to be any kind of difference. So here's what we know. She likes to tend high at all ranges, so I'll take that into account when going after these targets. And it still does fairly well at 10 yards. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do the swingers on both sides. I'm going to do the small one on top, the big one on the bottom, small one on top, big one on bottom. Go for the large 12 gauge shell on the left, and then the small 410 shell on the right. That'll be 6. So let's see if I can pull it off. Yeah, I'm compensating way lower than I expected. So that's pretty interesting. Well, to be honest, predicting hold under kind of sucks. I'm not a big fan. So I'm wondering if the rounds are going too slow or if they're just too heavy. So I'll probably have to revisit this with lighter or faster ammunition or both, and then see how she does. Because it's definitely going way higher than I would prefer, to be honest. So what I have here are some Remington Thunderbolts. So the velocity is relatively close, maybe just a little bit faster. We're going to see how it does. So I set it up, I got the 2 dingers down there, I got the gopher, and I set up some shaving cream. And depending on how things go with the dingers, we're going to see where I need to hold it at to get that shaving cream. See, that missed entirely. Now let me do point of aim. Miracle, right? So maybe it prefers higher velocity. So still holding it under just a little bit to get the shaving cream. I missed the dingers on the other ones because I was trying to work it up. So I'm going to revisit this pistol with a couple different loads and see how they perform differently in it. Maybe just don't like CCIs. Not really sure. But that hold under is fairly massive for a 22. Okay, well that's it. So we got to look at practical standing accuracy. We got to look at the sled accuracy on there. And then tried out a couple of the smaller targets and how much that hold under really affects how you got to aim this gun. Now what I'm wondering is it going to be the same for different types of ammunition? Maybe a little bit less weight, a little bit faster will kind of prove the day on this, or is it just how it's going to be? Is it all shooter error? There's a lot of variables, so I think a part 2 would be a good way to kind of resolve some of those issues. But all in all, as of right now, yeah, it's a fun shooter. It's super handy. You know, you can flip it around, super balanced and stuff. It is truly beholden to the original Colt single action Army, just in the pocket-sized 22 long rifle. It's very well made, but the only thing I'm standing up to right now is a couple issues with the accuracy, and we already talked about a lot of that already. I'm looking forward to giving this a shot. Alright guys, well anyway, this is pretty good. A little bit of a learning experience with this guy. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share, and we'll catch you in the next one.